Rick Astley coming in studio.
I already know what I'm going to ask him.
That's D-bag, not Rick Astley.
I know what I'm going to say to him when he comes in.
What are you going to say?
So you never going to give you up. Big song for you.
All right. Why would you say that?
Just to get the ball rolling. He'll probably have a lot to say about it. Yeah, it changed my life.
Let's find out. Is he Ozzy or is he Rick Astley?
That's a good Rick Astley. Am I right or wrong, Travis?
I'd say wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He met Ozzy once.
We're
in a
going
bar.
to disagree.
Who?
Rick.
Rick
do you know?
Astley.
Yeah, because it's on the
How do you know?
Oh, I should
Rick
read this.
Astley.
You should.
How you doing?
Hi, Rick.
Welcome. Come
How
on
are
in.
you?
We're live. We're on. So make yourself comfortable. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Hi.
program.
How you doing?
How are you?
Hi.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Good to see you, man.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Good?
Yeah, good.
Good. You got new music coming out. Everybody's talking about you. This is a good time to be Rick Astley, right?
I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
It's been obviously I haven't done a new record for years and years and years, so it's kind of been a bit odd. But we had a good start in the UK. We released it in June and we had a #1 album.
How come you didn't do one in a long time?
Well, I retired really early. I retired when I was about 28. I become a dad. I'd had a few hits and what have you, and I travelled the world a few times and been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and I just got sick of it, if I'm honest.
Wow.
I just kind of had enough of it. And
All those groupies, right? That gets old fast.
Yeah.
Who needs that? I hate getting blown in different towns.
well, yeah, kind of. But thing is, I've actually been with the same woman for like 27, 28 years, and so.
when did you start?
I actually met her in 87, but we actually got together in 89. And my first record was 87. So she used to work at the record label in Denmark. So that's how we met.
But you had 87 to 89 not being in that committed relationship.
I was in a different one.
You were in a committed relationship, though?
That's better, though, man. When you have a #1 hit in the world, it's always better
Let me
to have
tell-
a girlfriend you have to call. Who wants to have sex with a bunch of different women? That's
I'll
awful.
tell you what, I feel sorry for the guys and girls out there today because you can't do anything today. If somebody winks at you in a bar, it's all over, Facebook, YouTube, God knows what. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yep.
I mean, I just don't know how people do anything anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we get called out. Somebody posted one of my penis photos on Twitter.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
Why did they do that?
Because that's just what his sister does. No, I don't know. It was just because it was someone who freaked out, some wacko I had sent a dick picture to, and it wound up on Twitter. I mean, I didn't care. It's like, I'm single.
Just rewind for me a second. Listen, this is New York. It's a moment for me. Did you just say you sent a dick picture to someone?
Oh God, yes.
You never done that, Rick?
The more amazing thing is people I haven't sent them to.
Okay,
who
fine.
deserve them.
Do me a favor. Don't send me any.
Oh no,
okay?
I won't. I'll email it. So if you don't want to open the attachment, it's understandable.
I mean, don't you think it'd be charming if, like, even if it be your wife, you send her a dick pic and just under it you write, never gonna give you up.
You could do that. She knows that anyway. I don't need to send her a dick pic. You know what I mean?
Okay.
She's familiar with
Married couples
yeah.
don't do that. Like that's not a married couple thing. That's more like when you're getting into it. But I don't know many married couples that send each other naked. They're just kind of over it.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I also think that we're all different, aren't we? And I don't see that as a special moment between two people sending them a dick pic. But hey, whatever. That's me. Maybe I'm just old fashioned. Do you know what I mean?
You're probably right. When did you meet Ozzy? It's on the prep sheet. I didn't.
This is Jim Norton, interview extraordinaire.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about Ozzy before I forget.
Are you talking about Ozzy Osbourne?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that was a weird moment, to be honest. I was staying at a hotel in Los Angeles, which I always stayed in. And it's kind of a bit of a rock and roll hotel. A lot of music and film people stay there. And we were just waiting. And it used to have a tiny little bar. It's now kind of got a great bar that everybody goes to, and it's a bit of a scene. But it used to have this tiny little bar. And if you're waiting for your ride or whatever, you just go in there and get a drink before you go in. And sure enough, Ozzy Osbourne's in there, and his wife Sharon's in there, and they just sat there. And I was just minding my own business, and he kind of recognised me and kind of said, "What are you doing here? Are you doing gigs and kind of thing?" I said, "No, I'm just here to do some promo and what have you." He said, "Have you got a band?" And I said, "Well, we're just putting one together at the moment, because we're touring soon." And he said, "Well, I've played with all the best musicians in the world. I can put you right. I can find you some great players," which he has, to be fair. He's played with all the greats. Do you know what I mean? That people who've left his band have gone on to, careers in their own right.
Right.
But Sharon then kind of just chips in and sort of...
What's that?
Sharon chips in and literally just stops Ozzy Osbourne in his tracks and says, he doesn't want to play with your long-haired, tattooed monsters. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, he's a nice lad, leave him alone. And it was just the dynamic of it was pretty amazing. But obviously, we all know Sharon now, and we know you know, we know her character and what she's like and all this. She's a forceful woman, you know. But it was a pretty odd situation to be in a bar, in a rock and roll hotel, with you know, the Emperor of Darkness or whatever you want to call him, and him being kind of chastised.
I believe
by his
he's
wife.
just the Prince of
Prince of Darkness.
It's just
I've
the
got
Prince.
an Emperor
I
on this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. No, Ian Watkins from Lost Prophets. He's the Emperor of Darkness.
Let's not go there. Okay, that's like, I'm sweating here. I'm sweating. Yeah. Oh my word. Yeah.
So do you feel like though, like when because there are still like you see sexting scandals and people are like you're talking about like the kids
Yeah.
now who are performing. I'm sure. Not in 87, 88, 89.
Yeah.
If you weren't in a relationship and we had the technology we do today, you probably would have had all that shit all of your shit out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, we had paparazzi still, and we had all of that. You know, you still had the gangs of photographers and everything. But the big thing now is if someone takes your picture, I mean, it's there, it's done, it's worldwide, it's that's it,
And it's forever.
Yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
in those days, they're kind of like some guy'd have to go and run off, get that processed,
Yeah.
send it to his editor, this, that, and the other. That was a totally different world in terms of privacy. But I mean, obviously privacy was still invaded, especially for big Hollywood stars, especially and stuff like that, and maybe some big music artists, really big ones. But I think it just wasn't so instant. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe people had time to prepare for things as well. Do you know what I mean? Kind of that storm's coming, we better get ready. You know what I mean? Whereas now it's just boom. You know what I mean? It's kind of I don't know. It's crazy.
What do you do when you retire that young? Like, what do you just hang out?
Yeah, well, I've become a dad, and my mum and dad divorced when I was very, very young. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. Also, they had a son who passed away before I was born, very young. And so, for me, having a very kind of solid family setup was really important. Like it is to all of us, of course it is. But for me, I looked at myself sometimes in the mirror in some far.
I hate doing that.
We all hate doing that. Come on. No, but I sometimes would, be in a hotel somewhere and just thinking, what are you doing here? You've got a 1-year-old daughter at home.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm honest, I've made quite a bit of money, and it's kind of it's very easy at that point in your life to look at pop music, especially, and say, how long is this going to last? Do I want it to last? What is actually going on here? And I think I just fell out of love with the whole business side of it. You know what I mean? I never fell out of love with music. I've always had little studios. I've always played with my friends in little bands and done little mess about projects and stuff. But I just didn't want to do that whole thing anymore. I wanted to be at home,
Wow. So but the money kept rolling in from that song. From that
obviously,
album?
I've had, they send me checks every now and
do?
again. Yeah.
Well,
Do you need a loan?
I would love
you
that.
okay?
I certainly do.
Well, what's that like when? Because we were talking about it before you came in that you sold something like what was it, 15 million records, something like that.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
Joe.
you used to sell records in those days. That's
Right.
the thing. Do you know what I mean? So,
Right. But to go from there to being like, okay, now this is the pace that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
Now I got to keep matching this. I would assume that has a lot to do with why you want to kind of get out of it, because now you have this unrealistic thing where it's like, no, I have to get up to
there's
Never
a bit
Gonna
of that,
Give You
yeah.
Up.
My first single, Never Gonna Give You Up, was my biggest record as well, and that's a weird feeling to have because
When was that out?
1987.
I
and
haven't
I was
heard that.
21, and sorry.
I haven't heard that.
You haven't heard that one, okay? I'll send you I'll send you an email with a little link in it. And that's a weird thing as well, to a degree, because it's kind of all downhill from there. No,
Does it feel like it's downhill from there, though?
No. But what it felt like was that you're kind of chasing your tail a little bit.
Right.
I would go to countries that I barely knew about, and I'd be number one for a couple of weeks, which is an amazing feeling. Of course it is. But you also I felt a little bit like an imposter sometimes. I felt a bit like this is happening to some other guy, and you think it's happening to me when I'd get there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, I go to Sweden, I've been number one for weeks, and I'm like, I've never been here. I don't know anything about Sweden. What's happening? What's going on? And I think, and the other thing is as well, maybe people get a bit of training these days. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was going to happen. I'd never even walked into a radio station before.
But what about your concerts? Like there was like when you just start and you got a couple of really big songs off that record.
Sure.
But like, what do you open with, and what do you do?
Yeah,
do people get impatient waiting for that song?
I mean, that's the thing. I usually play it last, to be honest, and every now and again, if the audience is getting a bit rowdy or something's going on, I'll just do it acoustically. And I actually say to people, okay, you can go and get your bus now because we've done that one. Do you know what I mean? But
you do it acoustic. You don't do it.
No, I do it for real. But I'm saying in the middle of the set, I'll do it a cappella or something, just so that they can listen to it and go home. Do you know what I mean? They can video it, put it on YouTube, Rickroll somebody, and then go home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we did it.
Exactly.
Now let me get back to my show.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a funny thing with that song. Of course, it is because it's had its life on the internet in a totally different way these last few years.
You must have made millions off that.
I've obviously made some money from it for sure, but I mean, it's not. I didn't write it, so it's not anything to do with me publishing wise and stuff. But to be honest, I'm not knocking it. Of course, it's opened doors and it's done some things, and it's kind of given that song a new lease of life. And I'm sure a lot of people can't stand it and never ever want to hear it ever again.
Were you annoyed when it started though? Like
no,
when
because
people...
I didn't really understand it
Not you,
either,
Jim.
if I'm honest. And also, I've said
You
this
didn't get
before. Not really. A friend of mine who lives in LA, funnily enough, because it started in America. He emailed me and Rickrolled me, and I was on holiday, and I just kind of emailed him back going, "You arse, what are you doing?" and he did it again. So I'm like, okay. And he's English, by the way, so I've known him for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up the phone and just said, "What are you doing? What are you?" And then he explained it to me, and I still didn't really get it, if I'm honest, because you're going back a few years when that happened, and if you think about YouTube and stuff and the way that things were on the internet, that was in its infancy to a great degree. You didn't go to YouTube for every single thing that's ever been filmed, whereas today you do. If you want to find some early, footage of the Beatles playing in some what have you, it'll be on there.
Right.
If you want to go and see, some presidential this, that, and the other from 19 whatever, it'll be on there. Everything's on there. You know what I mean? Everything is on there.
Whoever thought, I always wondered who does this the first time. Whoever Rickrolled, whoever came up with that is a genius. But there's a mind out there that said, I want to fool somebody. Oh, yeah, that song. That's perfect. Who the fuck put that together and just created that?
It is weird, and I have thought about that occasionally. Of course I have. My daughter at the time was about 15, and she kind of put me right, really, and just kind of said, look, it's got nothing to do with you. Just let it be. Don't get involved. Just leave it alone. It's nothing to do with you. And
that's not great advice though, because you could have put out an app. You could have done something where you could have
put out
made
a
some
Rickrolling app.
Yeah, no, but
because I read on the internet.
Yeah.
That for the first 3 years at least of Rickrolling, you made like $12 off it.
I don't know. And I've never sat down. I've never sat down. The coffees are on me. I've never sat down. I've never sat down and tried to work that out or asked anybody to try. And to be honest, I don't really care. And that's not me being flippant about money. It's just I think the more that you look at it, I've done a couple of things where I came and Rickrolled Macy's Day Parade.
I saw in 2008.
Macy's Day, Macy's Parade on Thanksgiving. I did that because I thought I did that because I called every American friend and every friend I've got here who lives in America, and they all screamed back down the phone and said, "You have to do that. You have to do that."
Yeah.
And I've been in New York on that day before, and I've kind of felt that what goes on and everything. But to actually just be in the parade, even in a daft way like that, was really, really good.
When did you do it? At what point? What was happening?
As you come outside Macy's, that's when all the cameras are there, obviously, on your, and it was a kids puppet animation show,
right?
And they wanted me to, so their songs playing and the puppets. There you go, and I came out and Rickrolled them.
Just like in the middle of the song, he just walks out from behind the float and just starts doing his thing.
The weird thing and the pretty amazing thing was to go through New York on a float when there's no traffic, there's no nothing. The only traffic is the float in front of you. SpongeBob SquarePants is the only traffic in front of you. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of... It was amazing to see New York that way, to be honest. Pretty crazy, yeah.
What was it like with the award that in 2008 that you also got?
An award in 2008.
Not you, Norton.
To be honest, I have got that award because I asked them for it.
What was the award?
It was MTV thought they were being really ironic.
Best act ever.
Yeah,
was the name of the award.
Live act ever.
Best live act ever.
Yeah. Which I mean, I'm sure you would put me in that category. Having retired,
having
retired for 15 years as well, and not done a gig for that long, and all the rest of it. They thought they were being ironic and funny because of the Rickrolling thing.
Yeah.
And then the great European public thought it would be ironic and funny to vote for me, so I won. I think I actually got more votes than people live in Europe, actually. So I'm not sure exactly what went on there, but I just sort of said, look, I'm not coming because it's ridiculous. You've got Bono giving Sir Paul McCartney an award, a Lifetime Achievement Award in Liverpool,
right?
And then you expect me to get on a stage and accept an award for being the best live act ever. It's like, yeah,
that would have been so perfect.
Yeah, I would have been
Rich.
able to shake both their hands.
Would you have been embarrassed meeting that? Is that why you? Yeah.
Of course I didn't do it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But we got the award though because my daughter really liked it because it's a wobbly spaceman. So we thought we'd go for that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because McCartney was going to be there and Bono, and you're like, you don't want to like be fucked with with those.
No,
guys.
I mean, listen,
it
would have been nice to go and to be there just to see that and to see, you know what I mean, and some of the other stuff, but not to receive an award for that because it was a joke basically, and I think in the end the joke was a little bit on them because I won it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You know, you two were in that category and everything. You can't even put us on the same planet. You can't.
Why? I've never Bono rolled anyone.
That's true.
There you go. Let's start. Let's do it.
That's true. Why have you decided what that you realize there's an interest now,
I
and
think,
now would be a good time to come back?
I know a lot of people obviously
Jim.
would think I'm doing this because there's been Rickrolling. Rickrolling has been going for years, and I haven't really decided
Almost
to make an
10
album.
years.
Yeah. So, and to be honest, it's had a bubble on the internet, and people do other things. At the moment, there's a campaign in the UK for me to be the England football manager, which is pretty good. I would take that job as well. To be honest. So there's been loads of different stuff in and around that tune and what have you. But to be honest, it was more because having been doing gigs again for about 10 years, all over the world, really. One of the things that you get because of social media, people tell you obviously what they think of the gig and, you know, why didn't you play this song or we really love that song, da-da-da. But one of the main things was, when are you going to make a new record? You know, we'd like a new record. And to be honest, I haven't had the confidence to make a new record because you feel a bit irrelevant at some point in your life as a musician.
Boy, you're telling the right people.
Irrelevance is not fair. That's not really a fair way to put it. But I think you just sort of think, who's really other than your immediate fans? You know, is anybody really bothered?
Right.
And then at some point, I knew 50 was coming, and I just said to myself, at some point, I don't care. I'm going to make a record because I want to. So basically, I've got a studio at home, and it's right behind the kitchen, and I made the record myself. I wrote everything, played every instrument, just made the record.
Right.
So didn't even have a record label, to be honest. I just thought I just want to make some music, do that. And I think, you know, it's just been a really natural process, a really enjoyable one. And then I went to my old record label, BMG, and they really wanted to do it, so we did it. And it just went boom in the UK. It was crazy.
That's awesome. Number one.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank Rick Astley has to go. You can follow him on Rick Astley, ASTLEY on Twitter.
Yes, and rickastley.co.uk. And I believe this would be a taste off his new album.
It sounds pretty
good.
It sounds pretty much like the old one, to be honest.
This is very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
The drums at the beginning are not exactly the same.
Yeah,
They sound the same, but they're not quite the same.
This is called I'm So Happy I Gave You Up.